Windows Phone first came on the scene at Mobile World Congress back in February of 2010. Its unique graphic design aesthetic and typography-heavy style were big departures from others in the marketplace, including Apple, Google, and BlackBerry. The other big difference was the strict hardware requirements that Microsoft placed on handset makers. Windows Phone 7, the first version of the platform, supported only one resolution and a single set of hardware requirements. There are very few options that hardware manufacturers could put into the phones, especially compared to Android. But part of this was to have a consistent interface and form factor to build for, which has plagued Android with varying screen sizes, interface modifications, and device-specific hardware or augmentations. With Windows Phone 8, Microsoft took the design language of Windows Phone 7 and gave it an update. Along with it, a number of key hardware restrictions were removed, and the platform embraced more modern hardware, varying screen sizes, and technologies like near-field communication. Under the hood, Windows Phone 8 is based on the Windows NT kernel, instead of Windows CE, which Windows Phone 7 was based on. As a result, there are a number of technologies that are crossovers between Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8, making it easier to port applications between the two platforms. But let's focus on the design of the platform for a second. There are 5 basic principles that Microsoft has adopted for Windows Phone 8, and Windows 8 for that matter, that you should become familiar with to help build consistency across the various apps on the platform. The first principle is pride and craftsmanship. When you are creating your application, pay attention to the small things in your design. Apps that are part of smartphones are accessed frequently and often, and having an extra set of polish will make each experience with it much more enjoyable. There is guidance to follow a design grid to help keep things organized and to provide visual hierarchy and balance to your application. There is also emphasis to find typography that reflects your app's personality and purpose. It helps to set the tone for what people will do in your app. The second principle is to do more with less. Through focusing on the content, you can create a clean and purposeful experience with little on the screen. This extends to the interface as well as the content, as you'll find very little Chrome in Windows Phone apps and in the operating system in general. Next, Windows Phone apps should be fast and fluid. This is done through motion, which is a key part of the platform, and through the use of tiles that are alive and full of information that is relevant to the user and gives them a view into what is going on within an app or a process before going into it. This is a big design principle that has crossed over between Windows Phone and Windows 8, and you can see it throughout the Windows Phone and Windows Start screens. The next principle is probably the biggest visual distinction between Windows Phone and others, the desire to be authentically digital. This is to embrace the fact that you are working within a digital environment, and to base your interface and designs within that. Microsoft makes the distinction between infographic and iconographic, putting its own design aesthetics from Windows 7 and earlier against their new style. On the other end of this is iOS, which uses a style called skeuomorphism, which attempts to replicate items, textures, and objects from the physical world in the digital world. Microsoft's design style is very much the opposite of this, and they encourage you to bring that to your application. Finally, the last item is win as one, meaning as you take your application across different devices, form factors, and users to use a common UI model so that your users will be able to take what they learn from one platform and immediately be able to use it on another without needing to reinvent the wheel. With an understanding of how Windows Phone has come to where it is today, and with the understanding of its unique design style, let's next look at what goes on under the hood and the technologies that are part of the platform.